On Saturday, November 2nd, starting at noon, Kevin Williams is helping sick kids by playing video games. He needs your help to raise $1,000 for the CHIO Foundation. Donate at extra-life.org/participants/347875.
Lights, camera, action. Cut!
Welcome to Ropes to Reels, part of WrestleMedia, where everything is wrestling, and wrestling is everything. I'm at Adam Kota.
That's Sir F word.
What?
See, it's not just me that takes things off the rails. It's not just me.
Sorry.
Well, go ahead, finish. Who are you?
I'm Jen.
There you go.
I'm just Jen.
It's by the look in his eye. I don't think he's stopping. This is just how it's going to open now.
This is just how things are going.
I'm glad. That's accurate for me.
Guys, we're finally here. We've actually been planning this for a few weeks now, ever since Glow Season 3 was announced. We're finally going to take a look at Glow Season 3, and we felt like it wouldn't really be fair just to do it on Ropes to Reels, and it wouldn't really be fair just to do it on Women Crush Wrestling, so we're going to do a crossover episode. We're going to look at the first 5 episodes of Glow Season 3 today on Ropes to Reels, and the other 5 episodes of the season on Women Crush Wrestling. So, Jen, welcome back to Ropes to Reels. You haven't been here since you trashed X2.
Mm-hmm. I thought I would never be back.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of reaction we get from this episode as well. All right, guys, before we jump into the episode, let's explain 2 things. Number 1, this may sound a little bit different than what you're used to on Ropes to Reels. We're in a much more cavernous area for recording than we normally are.
Kitchen.
Yeah, we're usually... Well, thank you for rooting the illusion.
The illusion's so much better now that they know that there's a refrigerator behind you.
Well, that's just so if Jen gets hungry, if she has a craving for mac and cheese, she can just go and grab some.
Is there mac and cheese?
There is no mac and cheese.
Don't break my heart.
My apologies.
So I don't know if this defers our personality. I'm near the fridge, Jen's near the oven, and you're near the sink.
Yeah, I'm the cleaner. I have to clean up your mess all the time.
Fair.
Accurate.
All right, so before we jump into things today, I just want to let everybody know that you can still sign up for our newsletter over at WrestleMedia.ca. It's free. It offers you the highlights of the week and gives you access to exclusive content and contests. Like, for example, if you're a listener and you subscribe to our newsletter, you would have seen an exclusive preview of some of our upcoming road trip videos, which are available exclusively where, Jen?
WrestleMedia.ca.
Right, but more specifically, if they want to view like just the videos per se,
YouTube/WrestleMedia.
We're not at that level yet.
Nope, I don't
but
know
YouTube's
where.
fine. You just said YouTube.
I thought you said it was on YouTube.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't say that, but that's okay.
You gotta start coaching me before.
I just like seeing if you guys will sink or swim.
And I sink every time.
I have a lot of life jackets on here. Yeah, we have a YouTube channel. We aren't quite at that level yet where we can go youtube.com/WrestleMedia.ca.
Okay.
But if you subscribe, maybe that'll help with that, because I'd love to see a few more subscribers and people who hit that little notification bell. So please go do that and subscribe to all those shows. And, while they're at it, they can subscribe to more than that, right, Drew? What are some of the things they can subscribe to?
Is that like an Instagram thing?
Yeah.
Is that what you subscribe?
Social media is what...
because you follow and like. That's not like don't do this to me.
Could you imagine if I had stepped away and said, you know what, we're going to do a crossover?
You have. There is archived evidence of me doing this by myself. We have till 5, and it goes about as well as you think.
I mean the two of you.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
No.
Oh, well, fine then. I'm going to leave.
But it'd be great in a different way. See, you bring the professionalism and the research.
Right.
But sometimes people want chaos. That's why ECW was so popular.
I suppose
Fair.
that's true.
This is fair.
You did dress up as Cactus Jack and Dean Ambrose, respectively, for our roster pictures. So
there you go.
And I was Bubba Ray Dudley, so I don't know what the heck's going on here. This is just like somebody's going to end up through a table. Is what
it's a 3-way dance.
Yes, very nice. Well done. It's a triple threat. Yes.
ECW was 3-way dance.
Okay, all right. Well, then that means by the end of this episode, one of us is going to be eliminated.
Yep.
But tell us more about our social media, Drew.
Oh, you shouldn't have me do that. But here's what happens. Twitter, I think you have 240 characters now, or did they lower that or up that? I don't know anymore. But Twitter is a way you get the upbeat information right immediately. Facebook's kind of the more interactive one where you have different questions and different posts on that. And then on Instagram it's when you double tap. I think you can double tap to like now, and it's again kind of the same. It's like a blend of Twitter and Facebook at the same time. But basically you look up WrestleMedia.ca and you can find them all.
Sometimes I want to double tap you and different.
double tap for a girl means something totally different.
Does it really?
Oh, now I need to know. Wait, is this an X-rated thing?
Yeah,
Yes.
is this something that would be
You
better
can't
served
say on the show.
And there's no way to make it family friendly?
Is it like chips? Double dipping chips? Is that a
No.
double tap? All right.
No, but that actually impressed with that. Thinking of that quickly.
Is it just because you want chips right now?
No,
I do have those in the cupboard that's next to Drew. You can grab
Yeah,
that.
let me just eat the crunchiest sounding thing.
Be great.
Yeah, so thanks for that very in-depth lesson about social media platforms. I was more so talking about like where people could go to follow us on social
I
media.
did that at the end.
You never once said
No, at the end,
WrestleMedia.ca.
no, I did. At the end, I said search WrestleMedia.ca on all 3 platforms.
All right.
You were just blah, 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 blah while I was talking.
My mind was in a different place going, this guy, I just asked him for one simple thing. I was just basically ranting in my head. And I'm sure there will be plenty of ranting today as we talk about Season 3.
I got notes.
Let's really quickly recap Seasons 1 and 2. What did you think of them, Drew?
Season 1 is excellent. I still very much enjoy it. I don't like Season 2 as much, just because Season 1, you could really stop at an episode and continue on and still have a 3-framed story. Whereas I found Season 2, the 3-frame story was the season. It didn't really pause. It didn't take a breath for you to linger on what happened.
Okay.
So it was okay.
That's fair. Jen, what did you think of Season 1 and 2, Glow?
I like season 1 a lot. Season 2, I like just for the more character development. Like you got to see a little bit more of the characters that didn't focus on in season 1. But season 1 so far has been the best one.
I agree. I think Season 1 was superior, but I think Season 2 has the best episodes. I think the best single standalone episodes are in Season 2. But I think overall as a whole, Season 1 is better. What will we think of Season 3? Well, we're about to find out. But first, we have to ask a very important question. A question that we ask every week on Ropes to Reels. Drew!
What in the gigantic women of professionalism does this have to do with professional wrestling?
Not great.
I know, it's not good.
That was not a great one.
I'm not proud of that one. Can I do that again?
No, I'm going to let Jen take a shot at it.
Oh, man. No, I'm tired.
We're going to ask a very important question. A question we ask every single week. Jen?
What in the awesome con does this have to do with wrestling?
I like that better. I'm not
That's,
going to lie.
no, that's fair. I gave up on the alliteration like halfway through my brain. I'm like, that was a poor decision.
And actually, you kind of answered your own question
I did.
with the question. Because, yes, Awesome Kong is part of this, Kia Stevens. But also, of course, the fact that it is about, loosely based on, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling TV show from the 1980s. Also, Chavo Guerrero is one of the stunt coordinators on it. Carlito is in this season. I don't know if he shows up. I think he does show up in one of the first 5 episodes. So,
Yep.
yeah, there's lots to talk about here with this. Let's start off with episode 1. This is going to follow a little bit of a different format than what we normally do on Ropes to Reels. That was the other thing we needed to talk about. Normally we go through, we talk about it, and then we kind of rate it. We're going to break down each episode for the first 5 here on this one and just give our thoughts about it and see what we think of it. So let's start off with the very first episode titled Up, 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 which is a very interesting
Weird.
title. I think it has to do with kind of the opening, which, might I just say, fantastic. They started the season off the right way with the whole Zoya and Liberty Bell watching the Challenger and having it explode. Great comedy at its darkest. I love that opening scene. I thought it was great.
It was perfect. It pretty much talks about the organized chaos that follows the entire season, but also keeps in tune with what happened before. No matter how hard they try, the rug always gets pulled out from under the production.
Yeah, well, and just especially because, of course,
you saw it coming as an audience, too.
Not
As
just
soon as it
that.
was the Challenger on TV, it's like, oh, she's playing a Russian. Oh.
But and Ruth getting into it and just completely being so wrapped up in the character that she doesn't even realize what's happening. It's perfect. It totally fit the character, and I thought it was a really funny, stark way to start off the episode. Let's talk a little bit about the synopsis of it. According to IMDb, hours before Glow's opening show at the Fan Tan Casino in Las Vegas, a national tragedy unfolds on live TV, leaving everyone spooked. So from there, though, the production kind of slows to a crawl, in my opinion. It kind of stops everything in that moment. What do
Yeah.
you think, Jen?
I kind of agree. Although the Challenger thing, my husband laughed at for 3 days straight.
It was
we'd
great.
We'd be driving, and then he'd just laugh. He'd be
There's-
like, the Challenger.
There's no question they started this season off really hot and really strong with one of their best gags. Probably even the best gag in the entire season. However,
Yeah.
you need to follow that up for another 10 episodes. And I felt like there was a lot of treading water in this opening episode.
Yeah.
We do get introduced to Gina Davis's character.
Who looks good.
It's Gina Davis.
Well, I mean, like, sometimes you don't know.
You're right. But Gina Davis is Gina Davis, so, I mean, I ain't gonna have a problem with that. Gina Davis's character, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I got it right.
Hold on. Hey, I got it here, too. What the heck is it called? No, not Debbie. No, not Bash. No, not Bobby. No, I don't.
So you have it, but you don't have it.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what's weird is she's not listed on the cast and crew here.
Oh, she didn't show up in episode 1. She showed up later.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got confused then. My apologies. So, first episode then, we're just kind of seeing how everybody's kind of adjusting to life in Las Vegas. And, I don't know about you, but I just felt like it was kind of a bland episode.
It was all set up. The only reason for this to happen was to tell you they're in Vegas. They live at the hotel. Ruth is having a problem with Russell being away. And everybody else is just settling in. It's just, it's to recap. Even though Netflix does a recap before you actually watch the new season, it's a recap episode just to tell you where they are. I don't know. I think Netflix's original plan with TV or with their shows was to eventually put them on some sort of network, like maybe with their partnership with NBC or with the CW to maybe incorporate some Netflix in there. It just never happened, which is why I think they are still doing shows like this, even though with their recap, they don't need to.
Yeah. Well, either way, I think it was kind of a bad choice. What about you, Jen? Any other kind of comments about episode 1?
No, I didn't really like.
Yeah. It started strong, and then it just kind of ends very bland.
I did like them, what's the word, rehearsing?
Sure.
The episode. That was kind of fun just to see, okay, this is what kind of happens behind the scene. Because the only time we see this show was in its full production in the previous season. So to kind of see like the zip line and them going into the ring, just kind of see how the prep work is. It's like an interesting behind the scenes you don't typically get.
And it reveals something that I was a little disappointed to find, but makes complete sense from a story purpose, which is that they're just doing the season finale over and over and over again.
Yes.
You have to understand that being somebody who actually knows a little bit about the history of the actual Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling TV show from the 80s, there was a time in which they did film their series from Las Vegas, from a casino in Las Vegas. So at the end of season 2, it was my assumption that was the story, that they were going to Las Vegas and they would just do the TV show there in Vegas. I didn't realize what they were doing was a stage show in which you do the same show every single night. Now, again, it kind of bummed me out because I was like, oh, probably going to be less of a focus on the wrestling than in this season.
And very much so.
There is. Yeah. At the same time, though, that makes sense. I understand why Vegas shows are run like that. They're not the same show every night.
But it's also lazy writing.
Well, I don't...
Because I have so many notes on how you could incorporate wrestling into their stories. Like, have it be a different show each time and make it so that this payoff, quote unquote, at the end of the season makes a lot more sense than it actually did.
Well, my complaint is more so that I don't think they needed to incorporate a different show every single night to put more wrestling and more base wrestling stuff in it. Now, that being said, maybe I'm looking at this from a wrong perspective here. Jen, like, were you kind of hoping for more wrestling stuff in the season, or did you find that was a factor for you?
Well, I kind of wanted more wrestling because the last 2 seasons there was at least wrestling where they were trying new moves or they were trying like something different.
Yeah.
And then this one, it just like, oh, you're just doing the same thing over again.
Question.
I get it. That's what Vegas does.
Yeah.
But I mean...
Theory.
It's a TV show. You don't have to follow actual Vegas rules.
Hypothesis here. Do you think it was done that way to give the viewers the sense of monotony that the characters are going through? This idea of it's the same thing over and over again?
If you want to do that, show it.
Yeah.
Show the actual wrestling to show the monotony. They do here and there, but it's not. It's an afterthought. Yeah. Like, look at what happened with Tammy. The wrestling. This is why I think it would have been perfect to have the wrestling show continue on. Then you could slowly deteriorate Tammy's back. Mm-hmm. Then instead of a montage of her going in and then it's being slower, imagine that stretched out for like 5 or 6 episodes where you're just noticing like, oh, she's not moving as fast or not being able to do the moves she once did.
Well, speaking of Tammy, let's talk about episode 2, Hot Tub Club.
I love Hot Tub Club.
So this is the second
I want that
episode. The IMDb lists the synopsis as follows. On a day off, Sam teaches Ruth how to gamble. Bash struggles to take care of an ailing Rhonda, and Arthie and Yolanda face an intimate dilemma. So there's actually a lot happening in this episode. So let's break down the first thing. Sam and Ruth, their day off. Fine, cute. It's nice to see those two as friends.
Until the hot tub gets a little awkward.
Well, here's the thing. I get that, and I totally see Sam as the kind of character that doesn't know what's good for him, so he just kind of latches on to whatever's kind of there at the moment. Well, that's the thing, though, and I've stated this about the last 2 seasons. I don't think Ruth and Sam are a good thing together.
No, but he sees it as a good... he sees Ruth as a better version of himself, so he wants to cling on to it.
She's definitely good for him. I don't think he's good for her.
Not even remotely.
And I think that's a major problem. But it was nice to see them kind of hanging out and doing some stuff together. I think the problem where it falls a little flat for me is that I like watching these two as co-workers. I like them kind of competing and I like seeing them bounce ideas off each other and get creative. When it comes to the personal moments, it's a little boring, to be honest with you.
I kind of disagree.
Oh, okay. Why?
Because you kind of have these 2 seasons of them having like a sexual tension between themselves.
Right.
And then now you're finally seeing them being playful with each other.
Right.
You didn't see that before because he hated her for like 2 full seasons. And it's probably because he felt like had these feelings towards her. So I think the Sam and Ruth stuff was actually really well done.
Okay. All right. That's an interesting take. Because I didn't necessarily have a problem with them expanding on their relationship. Mm-hmm. But my issue was that I felt like it wasn't as interesting when they were just kind of hanging out together. But you're saying differently. So that's fine. It could be a complete perspective thing. Let's talk about Bash and struggling to take care of Rhonda. So
Bash might have my favorite arc this season.
It's been a struggle for me with Bash Howard.
Yeah, because I remember first season, you were like, this is me. This is exactly what I'd be as a character. And then all of a sudden, he gets as far distant view as a person as possible.
I totally identify with many aspects of Bash Howard. Like the over-enthusiastic, optimistic, loves the cartoonish, over-the-top nature of wrestling. Lord knows if I was to put together a wrestling company, it would probably look like Glow.
There would be a drug-filled robot.
Yeah, well, okay, maybe not. But this is what I'm saying, is that there's a lot of things about the character that I really like. And it's very strange, his kind of arc in this. And we'll get into that more when we get to the episodes that kind of have those big milestone moments for him. But let's talk about his relationship with Rhonda, because I think that's one of the things that we get to focus on in this.
This was the feigned pregnancy episode, right? Where she's sick.
Yeah,
yeah. Because I think that was absolutely for the audience, where she starts feeling nauseous. Like the first thought in your head is she's pregnant. And then
first
it's like,
thing I thought,
oh no, she has the flu. It kind of subvert expectations. I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going the traditional route, but then later down the line they actually do. But that's beside the point.
Can I suggest a theory that I have about this? Or at least an idea that I don't know if they're going to follow up on, but they may be planting the seeds for. It seems like this season, the big thing that they wanted to focus on was issues. They wanted to tackle real issues. And they did it. And in 1 or 2 cases, I think they did it really, really well. And one of the things I wonder if they're tackling with, or at least maybe hinting at, is concussions. Because Rhonda's getting migraines, she's getting sick and whatnot, and it's a kind of a hot topic button in the world of professional wrestling. Now, they didn't really talk about it that much in this season, but I'm wondering if this is planting a seed so that maybe in the next season or even down the line, we start to see some more effects of concussion syndrome.
I don't even think of that.
Maybe. And
that's just my wrestling.
I was going to say that,
brain.
but that's just like the one character. Like, if more than one was having an issue, I might be on board, but that just seems like it was
but
a way.
You don't need more than one character to have the issue. Like,
no, you don't, but at least in a storytelling aspect you do.
Well, and this is the other thing that I'm wondering, is because they clearly had plans with Kia Stevens' character, Tammy, right, with her back problems. My guess is they maybe thought of this idea of, like, let's address this concussion thing, but they thought it's going to be too similar to Tammy's story of the wear and tear and the grind of the wrestling business taking its toll on somebody physically, right? So that's the theory. I'm throwing it out there. I don't know that it's going to happen, but that was immediately where my mind went, is, I wonder if this is going to be a thing to kind of tackle concussion syndrome in wrestling and how it's kind of been a thing for the last little while. So I'll be curious to see if they go that direction, or maybe it was just a plot device to be like, hey, we need to show that Bash needs to stop being so dang selfish. I don't know. Jen, what did you think of their thing in this episode? Him going to see
Bobby. No, that was later. Him going to see who?
I can't. I'm so terrible with names.
Well, character. Give me character. I can work on that. Where does Bash go? He tries to go out. Oh, he goes out with
He goes to see Carmen.
Oh, he does go to see Carmen.
That's
right.
the thing. That's kind of the story. You know, they try to go for the night out. She gets sick. He doesn't know what to do. He goes see Carmen. Carmen gives him some life lessons. And then
Idiot, go to her.
And then he goes back and helps her.
Yeah.
What was your kind of thought on the episode and that transpiration?
I'm kind of confused about the Rhonda and Bash thing, just because they got married because she needed a green card, but then they're treating it like this is a real relationship and that they love each other kind of thing, and it came out of nowhere.
I think that what it is that Rhonda's really trying to make it work.
Yeah.
Because she feels bad for rushing Bash into this. But I think at the same time, she likes him. I don't know that she loves him, but I think that she's trying.
Yeah.
Very, very hard.
I didn't like them this season. It was just confusing.
I don't think you
to
were
me.
supposed to.
No.
Because they rushed into marriage.
Yeah.
The idea is they don't love each other.
No.
They're doing it they're both doing it because they're trying to get something out of it. Rhonda wants her green card, but she also wants stability and she wants a partner so she doesn't feel as alone. And Bash is just trying to be like, I'm not gay. Look, I'm married.
Yeah.
I'm trying to suppress all of my gay feelings. That's clearly why he's in the marriage, right? I mean, I think they care for each other. I think they're very good friends, but I think outside of that, they're just kind of using each other. Not in a malicious way, but I think subconsciously they're just using the other person. So that's kind of my take on that.
Hey, this is a commercial for patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca, where you can get early access to episodes of your favorite WrestleMedia shows, get full uncut and uncensored versions of your favorite shows, and more. Don't want to hear this commercial on your podcast anymore? Sign up at our main event tier and get these episodes ad-free. Want to hear your own commercial here instead of ours? We've got tiers for that too. Visit patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca and join the WrestleMedia revolution today.
Any other thoughts on episode 2?
What was the other thing that was happening?
Artie and Yolanda, they were kind of having their first fight, remember?
Yeah, and then they couldn't talk about that they were actually dating at the barber shop.
That's right.
Nice little thing there. But yeah, that doesn't really come to a head till later, so I'll bring that up again later.
Yeah, agreed. Anything you want to talk about with that?
No, I didn't. I didn't really enjoy the first couple of episodes.
No.
They started so dry.
Well, how about episode 3? Speaking of dry, episode 3 is called Desert Pollen. Boy, this is really working out for those segues. Good stuff.
Oh, fun.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
Continue on.
All right. Fed up with the ladies' sloppy performances and lack of training, Cherry takes them to a showgirl dance class, which stokes Debbie's insecurities.
That was fantastic.
It was pretty cool to see that side of it. I don't know, is this where we get Gina Davis's character introduced?
Yes, because she is a showgirl, and that's kind of how her and Debbie bond a little bit on their first meeting.
Okay. I don't know. She's still not listed in the cast list for this one.
That might be confusing it up.
Someone messed up.
I think she comes in. No, I think she does come in later because there was a lot of times during these first couple episodes where I was like, "Where's Gina Davis?" Like,
what was Debbie doing then? Was it just talking with Ruth?
About what?
During this episode, because I'm trying to imagine what Debbie's doing. Was it just Ruth? Oh, because this is when they have their. This is when Debbie. We find out that she is bulimic, but that never comes up again.
No.
Yeah, that was weird.
That's right. She was talking with Ruth in the kitchen.
They never brought that. Never paid off.
Like I understand.
So that's why your theory about concussion that doesn't float with me because they couldn't even continue that thing going.
Well, but we don't know that. We'll have to. They could be putting that in the back pocket.
That's bad storytelling. Still,
Yeah.
if they do want to continue on, it's not how you want to attack that issue. It's just, hey, she's doing this. Okay, bye bye.
Yeah,
she
but-
wants to be with her kid.
But what I'm saying is, what if it pays off in the next season? If it gets progressively worse, is what I'm saying. Like they may be thinking long term as opposed to short term.
Then if they are, it's a bad way to tell a story.
Okay, why?
Because you're not satisfying anything. There's no intrigue. Neither of you remembered that until I brought it up. You both had oh, right, that was this episode. A good story is one that you're thinking about when you're thinking about the season. That's why I like Bash, because with his story about his uncomfortability with his homosexuality, it's brought up subtly throughout the season. But they started it in season 2. By your logic, they should have wrapped it up. No, they shouldn't have wrapped it up. They should have kept intrigue. If you want to build a story, build a story. Don't just put an inciting incident and hope the audience goes with that.
Well, okay. Compare it to Bash's then. To explain.
Okay, so
it
when
to me.
Bash
Break
has
it down.
so when he loses his friend,
Yeah.
due to homosexuality, he starts going to Carmen, talking about that, and then starts having these not flashbacks, but these conversations with his family about how he has to be that kind of son, the son that they want him to be, even though he doesn't feel like that. It's not explicitly the homosexuality, but it is reflective of that. So you're brought back to that influence of his character.
Right.
So then when the next season comes up, they continue that with he doesn't know how to be with the wife. Then you're still thinking about that homosexuality. Whereas if they had just had his death of his friend and then it never brought up again until that threesome, then that's a bad story.
So maybe the idea is that the scene of Debbie in the bathroom struggling with turning to bulimia is more of a story, more of an element for her overarch as opposed to just like one particular story that she's trying to tell, because it's clear that throughout this season, Debbie is really struggling with finding her place. Like that's her story this season, is that she's trying to figure out where she belongs, because she's trying to take pride in this role as a producer, but she feels like she's kind of distant in that. And then Bash essentially takes that away from her halfway through the season. So she feels like she's kind of struggling to find her role. And I feel like maybe that's kind of playing part into it, is that she feels like compared to some of these other girls, she's no longer the big fish in the small pond. So that's going to play into those insecurities and that feeling of like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. Or maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Well, see, the thing with eating disorders, though, is that they should have kept this going for the whole season, because when you feel your lowest, that's when you would purge. You know what I mean? So, like, the fact that they showed it once and then never showed it again, it would be nice to just even have her come out of the bathroom wiping her mouth every now and then or something. Or, it needs something. Because this is a big topic that a lot of women in entertainment deal with. Yeah. And I felt like they were just kind of like a little glimpse, and then they're like, okay.
Okay. I kind of see where you guys are coming from.
And it could have been editing. They could have had something else there, and we just didn't see it.
It may have also been this idea that, because later on she does find some more happiness, but you're right. It could just be confusing writing in that situation then. Okay. What else about this episode do you guys remember, if anything, for the showgirl dancers and going to see them and all that kind of stuff?
More Ruth and Sam awkwardness.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, those two need to figure this out. I'm just tired of it.
No, they need to stop it.
You figure it out by stopping it. All right, we're done now. And then that actually comes up a little bit later, too.
All right. Let's move on to the next episode, then. Say Yes. This episode 4. All right.
I have a rant about Bobby. I have a whole rant about Bobby.
Let's do the IMDb thing, and then you can rant on Bobby.
Okay.
A visit from Russell puts Ruth on edge. Bash hires a magician to spice up the show, and Sheila forges ahead with her acting and finds a new idol. Go ahead, rant.
Okay, so when Bash, I love that when Bash keeps saying, oh, that's so cool, I want to bring him in. Oh, that's so flashy, I want to bring him in. And then him saying no to the say yes to Bobby was, again, another influence of his homosexuality fear coming to a head, reminding you about it, right? So it was a wasted opportunity of Bobby. I thought what they were going to do was have Bash, when Bash had lost his voice at some point, or he was training his voice or calming it or soothing it, whatever, I thought that was going to be like a thing with Bobby. So say Bash loses his voice for one of the nights and they need somebody to be on commentary and be the announcer. That's when maybe Sheila or Debbie would go pick up Bobby and for a night have him do that. And then when Bash is recovered and comes back, nobody wants him because he doesn't have that on-stage charisma, right? He's just an over-the-top cartoon when he's a part of Glow, whereas Bobby is the whole package. Like how he worked the crowd, how she worked the crowd when it was just the girls going to see the performance. I thought that's what they were building towards. And then having a homosexual being take over for Bash would have like pushed him over the edge, right? But and also Bobby being the confidant of Sheila, maybe having Bobby be one of those points for all the girls. Like maybe with bringing back Debbie's insecurities about her appearance. Well, who better to talk to about that than with Bobby? Or what about when Ruth is having problems with relationships? Again, there's a throwaway line where Bobby says, man, I've been with so many, both parties, I couldn't tell you. And that could also help with Artie's situation as well. But instead, Bobby's just an afterthought. And I thought that was such a disservice to that character. Even, he didn't have to stick around for the upcoming seasons. Like at the end of this season, he's just kind of left in the dust with Gina Davis, who we still haven't figured out the character's name of, in their, like, Bash took away the money, so both of them are just on the street. So Bobby didn't have to continue, but he could have played a pivotal role in so many different characters' developments. And I just felt he was so wasted in this season.
That's a good rant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I disagree that I think he's been left in the dust. I think we will see him in the next season.
I hopefully, but think about how it would have worked if they used Vegas as a way to really introduce his part in the, because if he comes back, it's just like, oh, cool, you were there in season 3. Where if he comes back after, like, actually helping the girls, it could be like a whole family reunion, a whole episode based on that. The impact would be so much greater if he returned.
I think I understand what you're saying. They could have done more with him this season. And I agree. I see what you're saying there. That's a really good hypothetical situation. But I still strongly believe that they'll bring him back. I think that they built up the relationship between him and Debbie so that now in her new position for the 4th season, he's going to be brought back. He'll be brought in to do some stuff. So I think he'll be back. But I agree with you. I think that they could have done a little bit more with him. I think they were kind of dipping their toes with Bobby just to kind of get him introduced to people. But
that's actually a very good way to encapsulate this season. A lot of this season's ideas, they were just dipping their toes when they should have just dove in.
I don't have a problem with that. By the way, Gina Davis's character is Sandy.
Thank you.
There we go.
Oh, I was going to say Sally for like the longest time.
Pretty close.
So there we go. You've been nodding your head this entire time that Drew's been ranting. So let's talk about it.
Like I love this character. This is Vegas. You know what I mean? Like when you think of Vegas, you think of showgirls, and then you think of drag queens, or you think big shows that aren't welcome anywhere else, right? People go to Vegas to gamble and see these like awesome shows, right? So I really like the Bobby character. And I also really like the connection between Bobby and Sheila.
Yeah.
I really love Sheila this season.
I think she's kind of the standout character this season,
Yeah.
clearly. In the same way that I feel Tammy was kind of the standout character from last season, Sheila's definitely the standout for this season. Honestly, it's weird though, because I feel like by the end of it, which we can talk a little bit later, I feel like she doesn't need to be on the show anymore. I feel like there's not a whole lot more for her to do.
Yeah.
I feel like she's kind of, as a character, she's hit her peak. So I mean, if there was any one character that I would have liked to have seen leave the show the way Carmen did at the end, I would have rather it have been Sheila, because I felt like that would have been a nice cap for her arc. So hopefully they got something really good for her next season, because I feel like this could have been it for her.
There's a cat that just runs around and is making noises.
Sorry, that made me jump.
I know. I was really afraid you were going to give birth to Cthulhu here at my kitchen table, which would have been pretty extraordinary for the podcast, but maybe not great overall.
Yeah, no, I don't want that to happen for a while.
Well, let's finish off with episode 5, Glow's Freaky Tuesday. The best episode of the season, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
This was my favorite episode of the season. We got to see the girls having fun. We got to see some wrestling. And we have our big bad heel turn at the end of it. It really was like a wrestling, an episode of Monday Night Raw. So I loved it. This was easily my favorite episode.
This is where they switch characters?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is when I started to like the season.
Yeah, it's the best episode.
I didn't... 4 wasn't bad, but like this episode was when I was like, okay, this is a good season.
Yeah.
And then it didn't really let me down after.
It felt like it was the first episode where stuff actually happened.
Yeah.
Something actually happened.
That made you
want
to come back.
Yeah. Justine shows back up again, which was great because I was missing her. She shows up to give her script to Sam, even though Sam's just finished his thing. So we see some growth from Sam putting his stuff aside for his daughter. It was great. I loved all the girls getting a chance to try and change their characters out. It was fun. And then at the end, we get Bash's big heel turn, which was amazing and was awful because it made me hate him so much. And you know my conflicting feelings about Bash. So it was awful. It was one of those things where we got the highest of the highs and the lowest of the low of the season. So I loved it. I think if you're going to watch one episode from this season, this is the one to watch.
I disagree.
Okay.
I'm with you. I don't know if you and I share the same favorite episode, but we'll see in the second part.
But it is in the second half.
It's
obviously?
in the second half.
Okay. Drew, your thoughts on the episode?
See, here's the thing. Only me. I hate cringe on movies and TV. A lot of people find humor in it, and for me, it just goes out the window.
What, dear sir, was cringe in this episode?
some of the different portrayals, the over-the-top racism and a few things.
Okay.
And again, this is not a comment or criticism on the show itself. It's my personal affiliation with it. I couldn't get as much enjoyment out of it.
Now, in its defense, though, I want to say that was done purposely for what's
for
going
a
to
character.
happen
That's
later.
what I mean. I don't want to dit the story.
Okay.
For the story, it absolutely made sense, but I couldn't really analyze it and look at it because I was just, so I actually have no way of...
That surprises the heck out of me with the number of movies and TV shows that are absolutely cringeworthy that you've said you love.
But the purpose of this was to make you cringe. And with that, like, I hate Superbad for that exact reason. It's only cringe humor. I can't get through it. But a lot of people say, oh, they love it as a comedy, which is why I distance myself from ever critiquing it because, like, I just can't get through it.
That's my favorite falling asleep movie.
See?
Superbad.
That's interesting.
It's like super bad, and then the first Resident Evil movie, they're like,
Which is weird because
So
for
here's
my
the
wife,
thing. Forget Beethoven. No, get your kid to sleep by putting on Resident Evil and Superbad.
yeah.
my wife loves that. For her, it's Finding Nemo and Cars. It's like
Yeah.
Disney movies. So that's
Well, it's
so
also
weird.
a mixture of Newman. What is his name? Not Randy Newman. Thomas Newman. Thomas Newman's score and
It is Randy Newman.
no, it's not Randy Newman. Thomas Newman does the score for Finding Nemo.
He has a brother?
They're not related. It's like
That is
Michael.
so weird.
It's like Michael Keaton and Diane Keaton. They're
You know
not
what
actually
it was?
related.
It was a hiring mistake. They're like, go get Newman. And he's like, here he is, Thomas Newman. And he's like, I meant Randy's. We already signed the contract. We can't do anything about it.
And who the heck wrote the score for Car? Anyway, I agree with those two movies for Kayla because they're so good at soothing music.
So you didn't like the cringe, though.
I just couldn't get past it myself,
Okay.
and that's just me. That's totally me.
Any other thoughts about the episode?
I liked where it was setting up. And I do enjoy, like you said, Bash's heel turn. I can't remember what else happened throughout this episode. I think
The
it was
only
mainly-
other thing was Justine shows up because Sam finishes his script
Does he? Oh, he does finish it.
because
That's
he's
right.
about to go and give it to Justine to read. And she comes back and says, I finished my script.
And he's like,
And
nope, mine's garbage.
So he puts his away because he's growing and showing that he's not just a selfish butthead
Is this
anymore.
the one where you let Sheila read it? Is it Sheila that reads it? Who reads it?
Sheila
before?
reads it.
Yeah.
It was Sheila.
Yeah.
Also, it was Randy Newman who did the music for Cars. There you go. Two Newmans in Pixar movies.
There you go.
And James Taylor music. That's the name I was looking for, was James Taylor. Sorry.
It's okay.
No, I was just.
Oh,
asking
all
if
right.
That's,
You don't have any
Yeah, no,
thoughts?
it was Sheila that
So-
came
I
in
mean,
to
I
read.
liked it because I like the Ruth and Sam thing, and this
Yeah.
was kind of like a shot at Ruth
Quick
without
fu-
being a shot at Ruth.
Quick, fun little thing before we wrap things up here on this episode. Favorite character swap?
I can't remember her name.
Which one?
She's the bomber girl.
Oh, Artie.
Yeah, I like
Arthie.
her. I like her being one of the Bettys.
Yeah.
I like that. Like she was funny as one of them.
Yes, she was.
And it showed her comedy, and I love that.
I couldn't get through it. Remember? So I couldn't tell you which one I
So
liked
you
the
didn't
most.
even watch the whole...
No, I did. I watched it. I'm trying to analyze, but I'm just like,
His ears. He covered
I
his
hate
ears.
it.
There is something fundamentally wrong with you.
I don't know what it is. I couldn't get. It hurt me internally.
Debbie Azoya. Like, that is just absolutely all of Debbie's bad influences and all of the nastiness that's deep inside of her coming out, and you can tell she is loving every minute of being the bad guy. And there's something so satisfying about watching somebody who enjoys being bad be bad and them enjoying it. So for me, it was Debbie Azoya all the way. Well, we're halfway through. I can't believe it took us this.
Okay, bye.
It was no. We you have to do your show now, Jen. This isn't a cop out. But that's going to do it for this week on Ropes to Reels. We do have something fun planned for the patrons. Don't want to break it just yet, but here's the thing: if you want to find out, there's a simple place you can go. Let's try.
No.
Drew.
Hold on, same time. 1, 2, 3. Tokyo.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Forget patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca is where you can go if you guys want some of that extra content. You can put a few ducats in the buck for different tiers and help us out a little bit. You know,
We need it.
We really do need it.
We
For
need
God's
help.
sakes, Jen's about to give birth. We need some of that ducats.
No, you're like 3 months ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, urgency. Give them a sense of urgency.
That's
so
true.
They'll donate now.
Yeah, that's true.
But of course, if you can't donate, there's other ways that you can help us out. Jen, what's another way that they can help us for free?
You can rate us
That's
on
right.
iTunes, Spotify. I don't know any of the other ones.
That's okay.
SoundCloud.
Yeah, that's one of
Okay.
them.
Is
Good.
there more?
There's a lot more, but
Okay.
that's okay.
5 stars.
Maybe they're too lazy to do that, or they're like, I don't want to be like Dave Meltzer. Drew, what's another way that they can help us out?
Tokyo. No, suicide. Listen to me. I actually wanted to say social media.
Fair.
I wanted-
Fair.
I don't know why. My brain was saying social media. My mouth went
my-
somewhere different.
Good Lord.
But the happiest you could be would be on social media, where we have questions, engaging in posts, and stop me.
They can share. They can
That's
share
it.
the episode. Good God.
Okay, well, Tokyo has a suicide forest.
We're done. No. Enough.
Natalie Dormer played a character in the movie about that forest.
There you go.
This is where we need to end things. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. Patrons, stay tuned. Your portion is coming up in the meantime and in between time. That's going to do it for this week on behalf of WrestleMedia. I'm at Adam Conta.
That's her F word.
Just Jenny.
Got in it real fast. And when it comes to the first half of Glow Season 3, that's a wrap. See you over on Women Crush Wrestling.
This has been a presentation of WrestleMedia, where everything is wrestling and wrestling is everything. Here's what you're missing out on right now over at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca.
Now, if you were to choose, what would you like to do today?
Well, I would love to somehow ruin the Hornswoggle RJ City match if I could. Hopefully helping RJ because he's a good friend, and then somehow getting, I don't know, turfed by Swoggle in some horrible way. I think that'd be great.
Want more? Sign up now at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca.